How much should you invest in index funds? A practical guide for beginners. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In the previous videos, we covered what index funds and ETFs are, why most beginners should consider them, which specific funds are good choices, and exactly how to buy your first one. Today in video 6, we are going to answer one of the most important and practical questions. How much should you actually invest in index funds? This is a question that many beginners struggle with. Some people think they need to invest a large amount of money to get started. Others are not sure how much of their income they should be putting into investments each month. In this video, we will break everything down in a clear and realistic way. As always, this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Your personal financial situation is unique, so please consider your own goals, income, expenses, and risk tolerance before making any decisions. Let's start with the most important principle. You should only invest money that you can afford to leave invested for a long time. Index funds and ETFs are designed for long-term investing, usually 5 years or more, and ideally 10 years or longer. If you might need the money in the next 1 or 2 years, it is generally better to keep it in a high-yield savings account or other safe liquid options rather than investing it in the stock market. With that foundation in mind, let's look at how to decide how much to invest. Step 1. Build an emergency fund. First, before you start investing seriously, it is highly recommended to have an emergency fund in place. An emergency fund is money set aside for unexpected expenses such as job loss, medical bills, car repairs, or home repairs. Most financial experts recommend having 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses saved in an easily accessible account, such as a high-yield savings account. For example, if your essential monthly expenses, rent, food, utilities, transportation, minimum debt payments, etc., are $3,000 per month, then you should aim to have between $9,000 and $18,000 in your emergency fund. Why is this important before investing? Because if you invest all your extra money and then face an emergency, you might be forced to sell your investments at a bad time when the market is down. Having an emergency fund gives you peace of mind and protects your long-term investments. Step 2. Pay off high-interest debt. Another important step before investing large amounts is to deal with high-interest debt. High-interest debt usually means credit card debt or personal loans with interest rates above 7 to 8% per year. Here's a simple rule many people follow. If your debt has an interest rate higher than 7 to 8%, it is often smarter to pay it off aggressively before investing heavily in the stock market. This is because the guaranteed return of paying off high-interest debt is usually higher than the expected long-term return of the stock market after accounting for risk. If your debt has a low interest rate, such as some student loans or mortgages around 4 to 6%, you can often invest while continuing to make regular payments on the debt. Everyone's situation is different, so it is worth running the numbers or speaking with a financial advisor if you have significant debt. Step 3. Decide how much of your income to invest. Once you have an emergency fund and have handled high-interest debt, the next question is, how much of your income should you invest each month? There is no single perfect answer, but here are some practical guidelines. The 50-30-20 rule. This is a popular budgeting framework. 50% of your income goes to needs, housing, food, transportation, utilities, minimum debt payments, etc. 30% goes to wants, entertainment, dining out, hobbies, subscriptions, etc. 20% goes to savings and debt repayment, including investing. If you can invest 20% of your income, that is an excellent target. However, many people start with less and gradually increase it over time. Start small if necessary. It is much better to start investing with whatever amount you can comfortably afford than to wait until you can invest a large sum. Even investing $50 or $100 per month is a great start. The habit of consistent investing is more important than the exact amount when you are just beginning. Over time, as your income increases or your expenses decrease, you can increase the percentage you invest. Step 4. Understand dollar cost averaging versus lump sum investing. When you have money to invest, you generally have two main options: lump sum investing, investing a large amount all at once; dollar cost averaging, DCA, investing smaller amounts regularly over time, for example, every month. Research has shown that, on average, lump sum investing tends to outperform dollar cost averaging because the market tends to go up over time. However, many people feel more comfortable using dollar cost averaging because it reduces the emotional stress of trying to time the market. For most beginners, dollar cost averaging is often the better psychological choice. Investing a fixed amount every month, or every paycheck, helps remove emotion from the decision and builds a strong habit. Step 5. Set realistic expectations. It is important to have realistic expectations about how much your investments can grow. Historically, the U.S. stock market has returned around 7 to 10% per year on average after inflation over very long periods. However, returns are never guaranteed, and there will be years with big gains and years with losses. Here are some examples to help you understand the power of consistent investing. Investing $300 per month for 30 years at an average annual return of 8% could grow to over $400,000. Investing $500 per month for 30 years at the same return could grow to over $700,000. These numbers assume consistent investing and reinvesting dividends. They also assume the market performs similarly to historical averages, which is not guaranteed. The key takeaway is that time in the market and consistent contributions are extremely powerful. Step 6. Consider your age and goals. How much you should invest also depends on your age and financial goals. If you are in your 20s or early 30s, you have a long time horizon. You can generally afford to invest more aggressively in stocks. If you are in your 40s or 50s, you may want to start thinking about gradually adding some bonds to reduce volatility as you get closer to retirement. If you have specific goals, buying a house in 5 years, paying for a child's education, early retirement, etc., your investment amount and strategy should align with those timelines. Step 7. Avoid common mistakes. Here are some common mistakes people make when deciding how much to invest. Investing money they will need in the short term, trying to time the market, and waiting for the perfect time to invest. Investing too aggressively without understanding the risks, not increasing contributions as income grows, comparing themselves to others instead of focusing on their own situation. The best approach for most people is to invest consistently, increase the amount over time when possible, and stay patient. Final thoughts. There is no perfect number for how much you should invest. The right amount depends on your income, expenses, debt, emergency fund, age, and financial goals. What matters most is to start as early as you can. Invest consistently, even if the amount is small. At first, increase your contributions over time as your financial situation improves. Stay invested for the long term. Keep your costs low by using good index funds or ETFs. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint. The people who build significant wealth through index funds are usually the ones who start early, stay consistent, and remain patient through market ups and downs. In the next videos, we will continue building on this foundation. We will talk about portfolio allocation, rebalancing, common mistakes to avoid, and how to stay disciplined over many years. If this video has helped you think more clearly about how much to invest, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue making these detailed videos. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. How much are you currently able to invest each month? What questions do you still have about deciding how much to put into index funds? Thank you very much for watching all the way through. I will see you in the next video.